Good morning. Good morning. I am Jay Lawrence. I'm your tour guide for this morning. This is the Insiders Only Daily Edge. I am here to share with you a little bit of, let's call it expertise and some wisdom, right? First things first, there was a discussion that we had amongst some of our colleagues, and I think I actually, on one of the previous Daily Edges, I actually kind of got into it, but I didn't actually share with you the framework. And what am I referring to? This is the framework to the 10 steps to mastery. This is really seminal work. This gives you an opportunity to sort of look at why it's so important to actually focus on the beginning, middle, and the end. What am I sharing with you is that many times you have an idea of what you want to accomplish, right? You may, have thought about it, and then you may have asked your colleagues about it, friends, family, and then you get some validation around that. And then, you may actually go to the point where you're like, let me write this thing down. Let me actually create some kind of an outline, some kind of plan, something around this thing, right? And then you do. And then you get to the point where you're kind of working through all of the machinations to actually take that idea, whether it be an idea that just simply helps you do one thing in your life or something massive that involves millions of people because it's a massive business vision that you have. It really doesn't matter. Like, I want to dispel the myth that you actually have to sort of like take new and different energy to get anything that you want to get done. What do I mean? I mean, this many times it could be something as simple as a 1% shift in your life, something really, really simple, right? That actually ends up making the biggest difference. The reason that 1% can make the difference is because you actually thought through all of the steps required to take that 1% shift and how to get after that one thing. Remember, I said this to you before. My granddaddy once told me, he says, boy, chop wood every day and you'll never, ever have a cold winter, right? So if you chop wood every day, that's the metaphor, obviously, right? For just doing the work, just staying true to the thing that you need to do, stay on top of it. And if you're consistently on that thing, time thus becomes your ally. Time becomes part of the equation of which that you're chunking through time, right? So the key though is to know that you actually have to chop wood. The key is knowing that you actually, look, there has to be a tree somewhere around, right? The key is that you actually have to have an axe, right? I mean, you could certainly use some scissors, you can certainly use a saw, but I'm telling you, if we're talking about, being able to get after it and chop wood, chopping wood is taking those swings every day, but you're taking the swings in this very strategic, right? This methodology of focusing on the tactics, right? And you're also making sure that the form of which that you're taking on every single swing is perfect. Listen, there's a difference between taking a swing at something 100 times with just reckless abandon and taking 10 swings at something with precision and strategy. So what I'm about to share with you in the 10 steps to mastery is the actual strategy associated with excellence. How do you cross the barrier where you go from good to great, from great to mastery, right? There's a thing, and rarely do people really focus on the mastery of something. Most of the time people are saying, look, just be good. And if you could be great, man, that makes good look so normal, right? But there's levels to this thing, right? There's no wrong answer. There's just degrees of right, okay? And the degree of right is to master mastery. You want to get to that point. So I'm going to share my screen. And I hope everybody's having a phenomenal day. Like I literally really wish for everybody that you just are knocking it out the park, right? This is what we do. So what you see here is, again, the 10 steps to mastery. It's really about you sort of focusing on, like, what are the things that you have to do and what do you have to be conscious of in order for you to be able to achieve like being able to step through every milestone to achieve that goal, right? And so here it is. So we're going to break this down. The first step in mastery is persuasion, right? So persuasion is like the ether, energy that introduces attraction. It's defined as synchronicity, energetic awareness. And why is that so important? Okay. Um, Focus on this, guys. If you actually want to win, you have to know that energy, right, is all around us. And the things that you need to get done, it's within this frame of are you attracting the right energy? Are the signals, the energetic signals that you're sending out to the world, are those signals, right, attracting exactly what your intention is, right? Your notion that you need to get something done is one thing, but your notion that, wait a minute, I have this idea around this thing, and you're actually like going into using, right, this universal power, this knowledge, this energy that's here, right? There's no debate that we are energetic beings, right? There's no debate that the things that you believe are the things that you can achieve, right? Listen, there are people that hit the lottery not because they were lucky. They hit the lottery because they had the intention to play the lottery. You see, you can't hit the lottery unless you actually play. Those individuals had enough belief that there was a possibility, right, that if they do this thing, they're going to actually hit the lottery. Now, most people are like, well, the chances of hitting the lottery is so, no, but energetically is what we're referring to. You have to have the predisposition to know that you have to have the right energy, the right focal point. You have to be one with the universe. So when you're starting something, you have this aha moment. Wait a minute. Is that what I think it is? Oh, I can actually do that. Okay, so let me get more into that. And getting more into it is you energetically immersing yourself into what is the vision of that thing, that idea that you had, the vision of that thing coming to fruition. Actually being part of the success story that you can tell. We tell stories, never lies. You're going to tell the story of success, but you can tell the story ahead of it physically manifesting. Right? You need to be able to tell yourself in your brain, you need to be able to energetically attract all of the mechanisms that's going to make sure that the thing that you need to happen is going to happen, right? This is key. Number two, right? So if you have persuasion as number one, number two is persuasion, right? These are the conversations, the messages you receive, and the opinions you consider. And so this is defined as social validation and opinion. Why? Because if you have an epiphany, the first thing you want to do is go to a trusted advisor, go to somebody who you know, love, and trust, go to somebody who you know that is going to actually go, they're going to get into that energetic state that you're in, and they too are going to be and bring that energy of, wow, you know, you may be onto something. Those are the attractors that I'm talking about. Like, we're not even focusing on anybody that's not that. You only want to attract the individuals that see the vision. We don't need them to do it. We don't need them to sell it. We don't need them to evangelize it. We don't need them to do anything associated with it other than the persuaders in your life. You want people that are open-minded, that are visionary, that imagine the possibilities with you, because it's that type of energy that is, again, if you think of the 10 steps of mastery as actually, this is more like, climbing, a ladder, like Jacob's ladder. This is you ascending to be one with the universe as it applies to something that you're able to accomplish, something of magnitude, right? So making sure that you have the right persuaders in your life, right, is also akin to, what do we say all the time? Is everybody has at minimum 5 people that are persuading you. And I shared this with you a few days ago. They're persuading you. We talked about John C. Maxwell, 5 levels of leadership. These individuals are persuading you. If you don't know they're persuading you, you need to take assessment and inventory of those individuals who are your persuaders. You need to choose them wisely. I just gave you the reason why you want to actually have the right persuaders in your life. Why? Because you need somebody that's not a yes man or a yes woman person. You need somebody who's a visionary, who can understand and imagine the possibilities. That's what your persuaders can be. Okay? And they should be. Number 3, So if the persuaders are helping you through conversations and messaging, right? If this is part of your social validation, because we all need social validation. Listen, you don't live in a dark room all by yourself, right? There are other human beings that actually have experiences and knowledge, expertise, they have wisdom. You want to have those people as part of your top five, right? If that's the case, then, and you had the epiphany, you're getting the research done. And number three is influence. Influence is providing yourself with the validation beyond outside considerations. This is simply saying that, listen, yes, I have these persuaders, but in order for me to accept this and have this turn that information into actual knowledge, I have to consider all aspects of everything that I've researched and learned about this particular idea. Okay. Defined as personal research and introspection. Listen, this is where your meditative self really comes into play. You see, you can have a ton of information and you can have some knowledge, but what you're going to have to do is be able to distill that down in the quiet moments. It's between you and the universe, and you are taking your time, and the thing that you're doing is considering all the possibilities. You need to take the time to weigh the options. You need to make sure that if you need to actually go back to persuasion, mastery step 2, it's 100% and perfectly okay to determine that, listen, I don't have enough knowledge, right? You have a plethora of information, but remember, knowledge is the only thing you can monetize. Right? So this is where you're in information gathering. This is where you have knowledge, right? And influence. The key is, if in fact you feel like you don't have enough, you can always go back, ask a third, a ninth, a 1,000th question, right? Do more research to make a determination, because the influence portion of it is you taking those outside considerations. You're defining this as your personal research now, and this is you being introspective. This is where the rubber meets the highway, and this is where most people get hung. Number 3, most people get confused between persuasion and influence. Most people believe other people influence you. No, they persuade you, right? Again, your influence can only be affected when you accept it as being truth. Influence is huge. Again, introspection is a code word for personal meditative space. You have to give yourself an opportunity. It is, some people call it prayer, some people call it meditation, but it's the same, right? But remember, there's no sort of limitation as to how you're able to, be introspective, right? But you want to spend time there, because this is the thing that's going to give you the opportunity to do what you need to do most, right? You need to be able to take that knowledge, and that knowledge needs to be yours. And the next step after you've done that thing, you've been introspective, this miracle happens, the miracle of belief. How many things have we been, how many validated sort of actions have happened because someone said, I believed? Like, belief is everything. There are entire cultures that have been built just on the baseline of belief, right? Like, it's not just opportunity, but it's, do you believe in that opportunity, right? It's not just like, a book, it's a Bible, it's a Quran, it's whatever book that individual feels. You have to believe that there's something in that book that's guiding your life. That's why belief is so important. So again, if persuasion is that epiphany, if persuasion is that epiphany, and persuasion is the conversations, right, and the social validation, and influence is you being introspective around what you just researched, right? Belief is a measured and verified feeling, adopting the influence as fact. This is crossing over to, like, okay, I'm influenced, but you know what? I believe in this. I believe in this vision. I believe that we can make this thing go. I believe it. And so belief is huge. Why? Because it's a feeling, right? By show of hands, how many people know how important it is for you in a situation to actually get goosebumps? When you think about something or you hear something, you get goosebumps, right? That is the belief. Like you believe it, it shows up. Like it literally is tactile, right? It shows up in us because again, we're energetic beings. When you could feel that energy, that is the belief measure, right? After you go through the belief, what is you believe it, right? Because I adopted this influence as fact. Now there's a knowing, right? So no, like I know this thing now. See, the final act of complete acceptance. That's what knowing is. I got it. Like no one can tell me anything. I know this thing to be fact. Let's go, right? So define as owning the knowledge or fact as your physical reality. This is amazing. We went from energetic, right, all the way up here to from persuasion. We go all the way to knowing, and knowing is a fact, and knowing this fact and having this knowledge as your physical reality. Now it becomes tactile, right? Now it becomes like, okay, let's go. We can do this. Because again, you don't do anything before you know it. See, how many of you drive? And I know there's a lot of people that still don't have a license and they're 35 years old, but I'm talking about for the rest of us, right? What happens is that you had to see someone drive before you drove yourself. You had to see someone shifting gears, see someone with the turn signal, see somebody actually, use the brake, see someone look in the mirror. You had to see all that. And it's because even when you're a little kid or a teenager or an adult, you're watching someone else drive. They're informing you as to how to do it. You're getting knowledge. You're creating a knowing around that. Just using that metaphor is like you have an epiphany. Hey, I can drive. Then you're talking to people about driving, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, this is how you do it because you did the research and you have introspective. The introspection allows you not to be afraid, right? Now you have belief. I believe I can do it. Now you have, because you believe it, now you have this physical, like you're ready to put your hands on it and get after it, right? That's the physical reality. And then you go to doing, the act of using your knowing as your launch pad. See, doing is where a lot of people never get. I tell you that there are people that can have an epiphany, a great idea. There's people that have persuaders in their life. There's people that will assume that persuasion is like, okay, I got this. They're influenced now. There's people that, for all intents and purposes, they're now like, they have a belief that thing is real, right? And you have the people are like, they believe it. Now they're like doing it, right? They know it. I know I can do it physically, but somehow some people get stuck. They get stuck because when it comes to doing, the act of using your knowing as your launch pad, they don't take off. They don't take off because they haven't actually flushed out every single step. Persuasion, influence, belief, and knowing. These are the things, these are the bedrocks that you must go through in order for you to get to doing. Because when you've done the previous 5, the doing is automatic. You're like, what you been waiting for? All right. You're talking to all your friends and family, your colleagues, or whoever you have in your life. You're going to listen. We're doing this. Right? You only can say that because you have a knowing of it. You only have a knowing of it because you have a belief in it. You only have a belief in it because you've accepted the influence associated with that. You only got to the influence because, again, you have the right persuaders in your life. And it doesn't even start unless you have an epiphany around that thing, that aha moment. So after doing, then it becomes learning. Why? Because you're recognizing the opportunity to improve while noting the moments. This is so important. When you're walking through something and you're doing it, you have to self-assess, right? This is like in the moment. If I'm driving, using that driving metaphor, and I'm walking through this process, I'm looking at myself, right? Almost like a voyeur. I'm looking at, am I doing this? Am I going through the functional steps? Did I push the button to start the car? Did I hit the stock? Tesla drivers hit the stock to actually, pull the stock down to have the car, take off. Do I need to press the brakes right now? Do I have the mirrors adjusted just right? All of the myriad of things that's required for driving. Why is it so important? Because driving is a metaphor that everybody knows. Okay. But the fact of the matter is, how do you become a great driver? You become a great driver because, first off, you know that you have to be learning as you're doing. There is no like, I know it all. The whole doing is done, and there's nothing else for me to learn. Life is nothing more than this infinite loop of learning, right? And as long as you know that, it's not like these dots on the wall. It's not like, a series of individual islands. It's not like that. No, it's an infinite loop of learning. And if that's the case, you get to the point when you know that it's an infinite loop of learning, that you know that refining, which is the analysis, the strategy, and the plan implementation of that idea. You see, now you have, because you were doing it and now you're learning it, now you're getting into the refinement of it. How do I actually like polish this thing? How do I make this so attractive that the world sees it as, I have to do this, I have to follow this, I have to buy this, I have to use this service, I have to be immersed in this thing. This is, you get the idea to actually create something fantastic on the baseline of how you refine it. See, analysis and strategy and plan implementation is a thing, right? So this is when you're actually bringing in the SMEs, the other smart people who can help with certain elements of getting that idea and taking it and skyrocketing it, right? But before you can get anybody to want to join your team, you better have a doing and you better have a learning. So thus you're bringing something to the table based on, this is what I learned. Now you're looking for other validation, right? To continue to refine that with other people that also had a similar experience, where now you're all like adding data, right? You're adding data to this thing. All of the energetic like knowledge, right? Universal mind, right? All of that's coming to fruition because you're doing that because of step 9, guiding, stepping into the experience as if you've done this before. You see, once you're refining it, you're refining the doing. You're already good at doing it. You're always like self-assessing in that learning space. But when you get into the refinement part, these are like these big sort of things that you're changing. This is how you're really kind of getting into ensuring that the thing is really a thing. And also other people know it's a thing. And here's our plan. Here's how we're implementing. Here's our roadmap. Here's our ultimate goal. All of the things that you know that are important for that thing to actually have a finish line. Right? And now, because you know all that, now when you're stepping into the experience of it, remember, experience is necessary, but you want your experience to lead to expertise, which goes to mastering. This is operating as the 9 previous steps inform every heartbeat, every breath. Mastery that evokes subconscious confidence, eliminating all doubt. You see, when you master something, you literally, when we say subconscious confidence, you can do it in your sleep. You're doing it so well that, using a golf metaphor, at one point in life, Tiger Woods was so good at golf that he was playing with it. Like he was the first sort of golfer to just play act. He was just toying with it. In another sports metaphor, that guy, Steph Curry, who was just 6'3", weighs 190 pounds, and literally just look like a regular guy off the street as it applies. He has mastered the art of basketball. He plays with the game. And I'm going to share this with you in closing. You want to have such mastery that you're actually able to play with it. Like, it's so joyful in the mastery of this idea that became it went from energetic to actually a substantive thing that you're loving and other people are loving it. And that's why mastery is so important. So I just wanted to kind of make sure on this illustrious, beautiful day, right? I am so happy that I have the opportunity to speak to tens of thousands of people every single day, right? I feel like when it really comes down to it, everything that we're doing together, we're all winning, right? I just want to make sure that you guys know, like, anytime you need anything, please, insidersonly.club, reach out to us, sideline us, just give us a holler, right? Like, we have people on our staff, and our staff is so phenomenal that things that we do is we pour into making sure that you are doing your best and being your best at all times. Again, I'm Jay Lawrence. This is the Insiders Only Daily Edge. And with that, you got the edge. Have a phenomenal day. He was done.